Welcome to the GMAT Strategy Podcast. You're here because you believe there's a better way to study for the GMAT, and so do we. We created the GMAT strategy to maximize your results and minimize your effort so you can get to the fun parts about business school and life as quickly as possible. My name is Isaac Puglia, and I've been teaching GMAT classes and tutoring privately for the GMAT for almost a decade, and I've achieved a 99th percentile score on the GMAT and helped thousands of students get into the business schools of their choice. I'm excited to be a part of your MBA journey since we all at TGS think our world can benefit from the best possible business leaders that we can find. If this show is bringing you value, please share it with your friends and family who are studying so that together we can make this process as easy and as painless as it can possibly be. Let's go. Today, I want to talk about balance. This is an episode for all of you who have been hitting your GMAT studies or just other areas of your life too hard. You're doing too much, you're exhausted, you're burning yourself out, or you're spending a lot of time on the wrong things and not seeing the progress that you want to see. In the past few weeks, I've talked a lot about discipline, about raising your standards. I've talked about becoming more consistent, and I've talked about becoming a better competitor. And for many of you who needed to get the fire burning hotter, that was great. For some of you who maybe you were burning the right amount or you were already burning a little too hot, that might have pushed you over the edge. You might have been excited or inspired, which is great, but maybe that led to a little too much activity. This is going to be the episode about how to strike the right balance between activity and rest to get the optimal results. Going back to our most recent topic about speed, this is how you can progress as efficiently as possible from a macro level. First things first, it is totally normal to be exhausted some or even most of the time if you're a high achiever. That's not necessarily something you should be looking to delete. It actually might be a sign that you're doing things well. But the key here is you want to learn how to operate at a high level and balance that fatigue. Those people who can operate at a high level while fatigued and still maintain their sanity, their health, their positivity, those people are extremely, extremely valuable. But destroying your performance by overcommitting or doing too much activity is obviously counterproductive by definition. And if that's what you've been doing or that's what you're on the road to doing, then now you're your own worst enemy. It's very self-defeating, and we want to make sure that we are not becoming those kinds of people. Yes, when you're trying to find the limit, sometimes you're going to go past the limit. And as long as you realize that and recalibrate, it's okay. But when you just blow past the limit and you stay there, now we are inviting disaster, and we do not want to do that. Now, I do want to give a couple caveats here because I think there's a lot of discussion about balance in our culture right now, in modern business and work culture, and just in general. And I think that balance is a loaded term. And I want to make some clearer definitions for our purposes here, because by definition, if you're listening to this podcast and or studying for the GMAT and or wanting to perform well on the exam and go to a great business school, like, you are not average. If we looked at a pie chart of all of humanity and then we looked at the slice who goes to a top 20 business school, like, it would be almost imperceptibly small versus the total population of planet Earth, okay? So when you and I are talking about balance, we're not talking about average person balance. And there's nothing wrong with being average. I'm not judging people who are in the sort of fat part of the bell curve, for lack of a better expression. I'm just acknowledging that it's very unlikely you and I are quote unquote average versus all of humanity. So if we're thinking about balance the way it is conversed about in larger popular culture or modern business culture even, that's probably not going to apply to folks like you and myself. You and I are going to refine what we mean by the term balance. And let's just jump into that. I mean, you, by definition, being here and being on this path, want to be exceptional, or you're already exceptional, or both. You're already exceptional, you're performing well, and you want to go even to that next higher level. By definition, exceptional means you're not normal. You're you're different, okay? And that's a good thing, but it also means that your balance point is probably going to be very different than a quote unquote normal or average person. So when you and I talk about being balanced, if a normal person looked at my schedule, they would like probably cry. I mean, it would be so painful. And I'm guessing many of you can relate to that. Like I it's funny, I'll just tell this quick anecdote. A few years back, I was at a 4th of July event. We were camping out. It was beautiful scenery, just like great times. And I was talking to somebody about some of the things I was up to in my workout routine. And I just visibly saw her face contort in pain when I was describing what I was doing. And she was just like, why? I mean, I remember the program. I remember the moment so clearly. It was so interesting to me. And my guess is a lot of you can relate. And maybe not all of you, but a lot of you can relate. And that's why I'm making this episode right now, because you and I are just wired differently, or we have elevated ourselves to valuing productivity and valuing getting things done and valuing achievement much higher than the quote unquote typical or average person would. There's nothing right or wrong about that. It's not like a moral high ground, low ground thing. It's none of that. It's just acknowledging the facts of the situation. Like when I tell you that story, I'm not trying to posture or brag or anything like that. I'm just telling you how it goes so that we are in the same universe for this conversation about balance. Because to me, engaging with that workout program that was painful for this other person even to think about. She hadn't even done anything that I was talking about what I was doing. But even to think about it, it was painful for her. If that's the thing you're engaging in, for me, that was me being balanced. I wanted a workout program that was like that because it matches the rest of my lifestyle. And if I had been doing something less intense, then I would have felt unbalanced. All right. So, what I'm trying to say is your and my balance point might look totally unbalanced to the typical person. And that's something that I would recommend you just make your peace with right now, if that resonates with you. If it doesn't, that's fine. Like all the advice I'm about to give to all of you will apply no matter where you are on the spectrum of intensity. But if you happen to be that person whose default mode is maybe doing a little too much, maybe overcommitting, maybe a little bit of an addiction to achievement, maybe not an unhealthy addiction, hopefully, but like want to keep growing. It's good to just accept that. But it's also good to accept that finding your personal balance point is still going to be crucial for success. Because again, none of you are surprised when I talk about going over the line, burning out, and having that be counterproductive. You have probably all experienced that. And you might be struggling with that right now because you want to be great at work and great in your personal relationships and great with your fitness routine and great at the GMAT all at the same time yesterday, already having it all done and moving on to the next thing. Okay. And I feel that way a lot of the time, everybody. I don't know if I've reflected on it deeply enough to say that I'm in that state of mind 100% of the time, but let's put it this way. I'm deeply familiar with that state. And hopefully that's already obvious based on what I am sharing and the fact that I am talking to you about this right now. All right. So, yes, your and my balance point is likely to be totally different, super extreme compared to the average person, but it is still crucial for your and my success to develop the right balance point for you personally, for me personally, so that I can get optimal results. So, where does that leave us? Once we accept that, you can understand something that one of my great coaches used to say a lot. And he says, the great of the greats know when to turn it off and when to turn it on. And this is someone who worked with Michael Jordan at the peak of his career for 15 years. This is a person who definitely understands greatness. And I've been very, very fortunate to work with him in a very limited capacity. I'm not like personal friends with this person or something, but I've done coaching with him, gotten feedback. He's extremely knowledgeable about peak performance. So this isn't just something that I made up, all right? This is deeply validated. And I'll share a story that he used to share quite a bit in a sec that sort of like shows the level that he has been operating on for a long time. So coming back to this idea of knowing when to turn it on versus when to turn it off, understanding that and developing that skill set usually takes longer than we would like it to. There's a lot of experimentation that has to happen for you to know where the limit is. And I've realized that that's because that limit is constantly growing for people like you and me. We are probably disappointed at the end of the day if we don't feel like we grew our capacity to a larger extent than it was when we started the day. We are just committed to growth. Let's put it that way. We value growth extremely highly. And so this balance point of when to turn it on, when to turn it off is a bit of a moving target. So if you have the belief, or in the past, if you've operated with the belief that you're going to find this balance point, you're going to set it, and it's going to be that forever, I want you to let go of that belief because that's causing you a lot more stress than it's saving you. And we want to set ourselves up with realistic plans. That the highest likelihood of success comes from the plan that is most connected to the truth, the reality of the situation. So if we accept that it's probably going to be a moving target, then we can start the process of constantly adjusting that and not being upset when that adjustment gets off course or when we overshoot or undershoot. We recognize that overshooting and undershooting is part of the growth process. The fact that you're overshooting and undershooting and optimizing over time is a sign of growth. If you've been thinking about that way, stop thinking about it as, oh, I didn't hit my perfect balance point today, and therefore I am a failure and I'm bad. Just recognize that that's part of success and that you should take it seriously. You should try to optimize it and you should try to improve. You shouldn't just brush it off, although you're probably not the kind of person who could do that even if you wanted to. But you also shouldn't become overly obsessive about it. There is a sweet spot, and I'm going to give you a system for that in a second. Just to expand on this mindset for one more moment before we get into that system, I want to tell a story from the coach I was just telling you about, who I've worked with to a limited degree. He used to coach Kobe Bryant. And if you don't know who Kobe Bryant is, or if you don't know who Michael Jordan is, they are two of the greatest athletes in United States history. And I would encourage you to look them up a little bit if you're not familiar with who they are and their legacy. They were both exceptionally famous for their work ethic and the performance that generated for them as an athlete. There's definitely parallels to these people in the business world and the health world and the teaching world. It's just these are two really well-known figures that it's probably easy to research them online. So I'm using them as an example. So my coach, when he would work with Kobe, they would do the training session. And sometimes they'd be training till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay. So for all of you who relate to the extremist side of my personality, that's a good example of that, right? And what TG, my coach, would realize is he would end the workout with Kobe, and then Kobe would leave, and then TG would have to stay at the gym for another 20 minutes because he knew Kobe was going to come back to try to keep working more, even though TG had assigned him a very specific sleep routine. And many of you can relate to that. You finish the workday, you finish the workout, you're on your way home, and you're like, I could have done more. I got to go back. And the problem that Kobe was having at that point in his career is he was not getting enough sleep. It wasn't undertraining that was causing him to underperform. It was a lack of rest. He was overtraining. And maybe it wasn't that he was doing too much activity, it's more that he was not resting enough. And so that was TG, my coach's role in his program to a large extent, was not just telling him what to do during the workout, but telling him when to stop. And that was something that Michael Jordan had. He always knew when to turn it off and rest, that Kobe did not have. Kobe did not have the off switch. And many champions, many people who have developed the championship mindset, or you were born with no off switch, you just don't have an off switch. That's what happens for a lot of champion type people. And that's a great thing. And you've been really rewarded with that probably as a young person. And now you're getting into a phase of life where it's much more important not to over index on that stuff. And you've already started to experience that with some physical changes, probably if you're in your mid 20s. And if you haven't, I hope they never come. And I hope you never experience those physical changes or you never get burned out and you can always keep operating without an off switch. But for most of us, we've got to accept the reality of the situation that we're just competing in a different arena now with a different set of circumstances. And we have to be our own coach who's going to stand at the front of the gym and say, no, you're done. Go home and rest. And that's the system that we're about to build together right now. Now, the key is to have a system, because if you have a system, then it can be iterated, it can be adjusted, and you can collect data on it. And this is super, super important because what gets measured is what gets managed. If you're not measuring it, it's going to be virtually impossible to manage it well. You might be able to manage it poorly. And for many of us, that's probably what's been happening. And that's why this is resonating with you right now, if it's resonating. And we don't want that to keep happening. If you're not tracking your data, it's you're setting yourself up for failure. It's just failing to plan is planning to fail. It is a good expression. Imagine this. What if your company, your business, or your team had zero KPIs? What if you had no idea what success looked like and you couldn't track your progress to that success? It would be chaos. And that's part of why a lot of you are going to B school, because you are going to be highly valued by large organizations that need systems. Large organizations need systems. The system at a fast-moving tech company might be, hey, use as few systems as possible, but that is still a system for managing workflow, culture, et cetera, okay? All the way up to the most buttoned up bureaucratic, whatever the polar opposite of that is, which is maybe too many systems, okay? But the idea is if we have zero systems, if there's just no system and we're just sort of winging it, it's going to be very difficult to improve, to iterate, et cetera. And the iteration, improving, and data collection process is extremely important for striking the optimal balance because, again, it's a moving target for people like you and me. We're not the average person who's just going to be like, okay, cool. I've struck balance. I'm good. I'm 25 and I'm just chilling. I'm just cruising all the way for the next 40 years until I get Social Security and I'm just hanging out. That is probably not you, okay? If that is you and you're trying to get to the next level and you want to become more dedicated, then the past week's episodes should really help with that. If you're the person who's like thinking it sounds hellish to just stay where you are for the next 40 years, then what I'm about to go through is for you. So the first step in this system, and all the steps are going to be very simple, but the first step is track your sleep. Don't worry if your sleep is good, bad, enough sleep, too much sleep. Don't be trying to optimize yet or like spending 6 hours on YouTube listening to all the talking heads about the latest theory in sleep. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm telling you, don't do that right now as the first step. The first step is to just track, just start collecting data. Then you can diagnose it and improve over time based on real data points, real numbers, not just based on how you feel. Now, how you feel is an important data point for sleep, for sure. And I would encourage you to come up with qualitative data points that you can use to track. So something like, I felt like a 7 out of 10 when I got out of bed this morning, or I felt like a 10 out of 10 when I got out of bed this morning. I would definitely encourage you to come up with those data points and assign them every day if you are not doing that already. But the idea is to develop a system that's functional, and then you can iterate and improve that system over time, and then you can iterate and improve your techniques over time. And it's going to be a lifelong issue. If you're dedicated to being a top performer, you're probably never going to be fully satisfied with your sleep routine. There's always going to be the next thing that you're going to want to try. And so as long as you have a tracking system for it, that will work out in your favor. If you don't have a tracking system, then you might just be hopping from fad to fad to fad to fad, which is very counterproductive in my experience. You don't want that. So if you're already tracking, that's great. Just make sure that your sleep is like an 8 out of 10 or better. 80% of the time. It's very unlikely it's going to be perfect. For those of you who are working in super demanding jobs, it might just be all bets are off Monday to Friday or Monday to Saturday, and then you catch up on other days. Again, we don't need perfection. We just need to track it. You just need to know where you're starting so you can make a 1% improvement, a 2% improvement, and let that 1 to 2% compound over time. You sleep every day. So if you got a 1% improvement in your sleep, let's say once a week for the rest of your life, the compounding on that would be insane. Like you would be 37 times better at sleeping after a decade. Okay. It's just a massive, massive slope. So in terms of tracking, there's an unreal amount of wearable tech. If you're listening to this, you probably have some kind of smart device that you can use to track. If you don't know where to begin with this, then get a free phone app called Sleep Cycle. If you want some paid products, I would look into some wearable tech. There's great rings, there's great watches. Just test out the things that you think are going to be best for you and don't be afraid to iterate. I've tested almost every type of wearable tech that I'm aware of, and I've come to figure out a system that works for me personally, and you should do the same. Some of you have that's that on the sleep front. Just track it. That's what I'm telling you to do. If you start tracking and you don't stop tracking, you will be good in terms of sleep and the first cornerstone to this balance that you and I are creating together right now. All right? That's it. You just got to keep tracking your sleep until you're dead. Now, some of you have very persistent sleep issues, and that's a specialized case. None of this is medical or psychiatric advice. And so, if that's you, you have very persistent sleep issues, just get the best professional help that you can possibly afford and go with that. Don't worry if you have to go through 10 sleep coaches. Go through 10, pick the best out of those 10, and don't give up on yourself just because you've struggled to sleep well in the past. It's a constant thing. It sucks. Life is definitely not fair in terms of genetics or situations that we're all born into. And in fact, it's quite unfair in many regards. And so you might have gotten dealt a bad hand in terms of genetics or past trauma, whatever, in terms of your sleep. And that's just something that you need to deal with. And just know that all of our weaknesses can eventually be turned into strengths if we acknowledge them and we stop judging them. And instead, we just get to work on addressing them, facing the brutal facts of reality. This is one of the brutal facts of your reality. If you just face it and start the process of iterating it and improving it and getting help and not just trying to fix it on your own completely with no advice from top professionals, you will improve or at least be able to just let go of it and say, hey, this is the best it's going to get. And I'm moving on to the next thing. All right. But I just want to acknowledge, some of you definitely have specific issues with sleep that make it harder than normal. And that's okay. You can do this. Number one, track your sleep. That's the first part of our system for creating balance. Just track it. I don't care if it's good, bad, ugly yet. By tracking it, it will automatically improve. You are an optimizer. You can't help it. It's fine. Number two, track your diet. Just have a record of what you ate. Don't judge yourself. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about if your diet's good, bad, terrible, amazing, freakish. It does not matter. You just need to have a record where you can open up your phone or your computer and look back 3 months and be like, on April 9th, 2024, I ate blank. Okay, just have a record of it. There's plenty of tools for this. Some of the ones that I've found to be the best for folks is one called MyFitnessPal. And then there's another one called Fat Secret. I personally prefer Fat Secret for a couple reasons, but there's no right or wrong with this. I believe they're both free, or maybe there's a paid tier or something, but I think there's also a free tier. It doesn't have to be something you spend a ton of time on. It could be just a couple minutes a day after every meal. Just ballpark it. You don't need to carry a food scale with you when you go out to eat. If you're the obsessive bodybuilding lifestyle person, you probably already carry the food scale with you 100% of the time, but don't worry about that. Just get as close as you can so that you have a reasonable record. And again, the most important thing today is that you have a system by the time you go to bed tonight where you're tracking your sleep, you're tracking your diet. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're going to iterate the system over time, and the best system for you is going to change over time. I did MyFitnessPal for 5 years. It started sucking for what I was personally going through at the time. That's when I transitioned to Fat Secret, and that's been a good fit for me for the last decade or so. But if you talk to me in 5 years, chances are I'll probably have something different. So just start. That's it. That's all I'm going to say about that. Third, track your exercise. Just have a log of what you did and how long you did it. Be able to look back 3 months from now at today and be like, cool, I did this many reps, this many sets, or this number of calories on the treadmill, whatever your thing is. I don't know, this number of spin classes. Just track what you did and how long you did it. There's plenty of apps, bands, watches. Like I said, the smart tech thing. If you've gotten into the sleep tracker, then you're going to have the exercise tracker bundled with that. I have surprised myself as someone who's a technology enthusiast that my approach to this is very low tech. I just have a note app on my phone, and it's just a log with the date of what I did and for how long. So again, you don't stress about peak performance or the perfect system. Just get something going, and then you can iterate over time. Even if you're not working out right now and it's just zero every day, log the zero, because logging the zero for the last 7 days, it's going to really help motivate you to be like, okay, I got to do more than zero. This is absurd. Now, for some of you, you are overdoing it with study and work, and you're like, oh, it's just a sprint. I'm just going to go all in on GMAT for a month. I'm going to stop working out. It's no big deal, blah, blah, blah. No, don't do that. Do not do that. I don't know how else to say it. I'll say it more forcefully in a second, just in case you need to hear it more forcefully. But if you don't, the key is at least 45 minutes every day would be what I would recommend. Now, the bare minimum would be 30. Just make it happen. Stop making excuses and get it done. Get your 45 minutes a day in, or accept that you are okay being outcompeted by people who are willing to do what it takes to do that. Okay? Those are your two options. So why do that? Exercise is the biggest improver of the learning process because it helps you sleep better, it helps you eat better, and it optimizes your brain and body chemistry for learning. There's so much data behind this that I don't even need to say anything else about it. You already know I'm right, but if you need to dig a little bit deeper and validate what I'm saying, by all means, go ahead and do so. In my experience, it doesn't matter when in the day you're working out as long as you're getting that time in. Having said that, there's plenty of research to show that morning and afternoon is good. I'll have a little bit more advice for that later. But for now, just don't just stop making the excuse. Delete whatever you need to delete that is not exercise, even if it means studying a little bit less, and recognize that it's better to have a shorter, more optimized study session than it is to try to just brute force this with a ton of hours with a bad foundation. That's not going to go well. All right. So track your sleep, track your diet, and track your exercise, and don't stop. Have a log every single day. If you fall off, get back on immediately. No excuses. Everybody slips. Everybody forgets. Shoot, I forgot to track it the last day, or oh, got out of the routine. Get back in the routine today, right now. Today, you've got to get 45 minutes in of exercise if you didn't already. And you've got to be able to have something to track your sleep, diet, and exercise by the end of the day. Make it happen, everybody. Number 4, schedule and track your downtime and your rest time. What we need is a productive rest. And that doesn't mean you're producing work or whatever during your rest time. It's actually the opposite. It means you are fully rejuvenating. And what I want you to do right now is, if you can write the list down, write down the top 3 activities that are the most restful for you personally. If you're driving or in the gym right now, just think of top 3 activities that are most restful for you and commit to those on a regular basis. I do not care if you get bored by this. I don't care if the most restful thing for you is reading 30 minutes 3 times a week, and then you get bored of it and you're like, I want to mix it up. I want to do something. I don't care if you want to mix it up. This is an elite level competition, everybody. And if you don't like that, nobody is forcing your hand here. Nobody is telling you you have to go to Harvard Business School or you have to get into Stanford. You might be telling yourself that, but I can virtually guarantee that nobody outside of you is putting that kind of pressure on you. So you're choosing this, which means you're also choosing the investment. And if you're not going to choose the investment that's required to get the result, stop expecting to get the result. It's totally unreasonable to expect a result without an investment. So you might not get bored of this. Hopefully you don't. I'm just telling you, I've had a lot of students over the years who are like, "Oh, I just feel better when I study instead of doing the productive rest." It's like, don't do that. I don't care how you feel about it. This is the way for you to get the best result. And that's why you're listening to me. You're not listening to me because I seem like a really nice guy. I mean, you might appreciate that. I don't even know if I seem like that, but let's just pretend I did for a second. You might appreciate that. That might be a value add, but you're listening to me because I know what I'm talking about here. And if I didn't know what I was talking about, me being the nicest person in the world, you would just stop listening. Your time is too valuable. And I don't take that personally, everybody, because I'm the same way. It's nothing personal. So anyway, back to the subject at hand. Commit to those top 3 most restful activities for you on a regular basis. It needs to be in your calendar so that you know when you're supposed to be on, aka studying, performing at work, and off, aka rejuvenating, engaging with these activities, and apply that competitiveness, that competitive nature, that want to get to the next level nature, maybe even that fear or panic of not being good enough, which is not necessarily a bad thing as long as it's managed well. Speaking from experience here, apply that to your rest time. Make sure that you're just as obsessive about getting your rest and your productive rest in as you are with getting your productive activity time in at work, at the gym, etc. This also doubles as a tracking system when you have it in the calendar because you can just make a quick note on your calendar invite to yourself of how much time did you actually put in and what was the activity you did. And then that way you can see over time what you committed to versus what you actually fulfilled on. And that'll help you optimize over time. Again, just what measures gets managed. If you track it, it'll automatically start improving. So with those top 3 activities, you can also optimize those. Like you don't have to get bored. You can try different things that you think are going to help. And maybe some of you need to distract yourselves. Like you need to find a new activity where you're doing something active, but it's still restful for you. Like I know a lot of people who are that way. Like reading a book or sitting there and watching TV is not restful for you because your mind is going 1,000 miles a minute. For you, actually going to the gym and hitting a super brutal workout is restful. Like that's okay. You just need to I'm not judging any of you. All right. You just need to be honest with yourself about what is most restful for you and then commit to doing that on a regular basis, even if you get bored with it. That's all I'm saying. Okay. So you're going to track your sleep. You're going to track your diet. You're going to track your exercise and you're going to track your downtime and your productive rest time. Again, just track it. Don't worry about optimizing it yet. You're going to naturally optimize it over time if you start tracking it and don't stop until you die. Okay, so all of this is just centered around becoming a better executor. And that's something that you probably don't struggle with if you're listening to this and it's resonating with you. But if you do struggle with execution, or you've been winging your rest time, even though your other productive time is super structured, and then your rest time is just getting crushed and it's not prioritized, that's not the path to elite performance. Okay. Next, some of you are going to laugh at this for better or for worse. Schedule and track your social time. You in the calendar, all right? Same as what I was just talking about with productive rest. There might be some overlap here too, and that's fine. Listen, you probably won't be the most active person in your social group over the next months or weeks or whatever while you're studying for the exam. That's fine. That's okay. And you might have to press pause on some things that you would otherwise like to do. But what I'm going to what I'm going to recommend that you do, strongest recommendation possible. Obviously, I can't demand anything from all of you. It's just a podcast. But what I'm going to recommend strongest as I can for all of you is one social thing per week at least. Now, if socializing is part of your productive rest, then you might schedule it in 2 or 3 times a week. Some of you are the extroverted type where being around people, you're just like, I feel so refreshed, rejuvenated, ready to get back to it. For others of you, you need to separate from the social thing. Doesn't matter. Again, no judgment at all on this. Just find what works for you and be honest with yourself. But make sure that you have time scheduled to connect with other people who you like at least once a week. It could be friends, family, new people you're meeting, networking, whatever. Again, no excuses, just get it in. Like business school is a very social environment. And if you tend to shy away from that, there's never been a better time to grow and get more comfortable doing it. If you tend to overdo it with social commitments, there's never been a better time to schedule it in and limit it so that you know when you're supposed to be doing it and when not, so that you don't get swept away by all the social opportunities in B school. And again, you can strike that optimal balance of socializing and being in the zone by yourself or with your team getting things done. All right. And all of us need some balance point with social time. It's very unlikely that you're the person who never wants to talk to a human ever again. And that's somehow your optimal state. Like that's just comically unlikely. But if that's you, respect. Listen, if you don't take care of yourself, how can you expect to perform? It's not realistic at all. Again, this is all about making realistic and intelligent plans. I don't care if you feel like deleting all your social commitments for the next 6 months, that's not going to generate the optimal performance for you. I can virtually guarantee it. Look at the data, look at the studies, back up what I'm saying. Fact check me, everybody. This is heavily validated, and it's heavily validated anecdotally in my experience working with many elite performers across, more than 20 years of my career at this point. Again, you can always adjust this. Don't worry about getting it perfect at the beginning. Just get it in the calendar. What's your social time for this week? At least once, a little bit more if you can afford it, or if that's your productive rest. And again, the key is just have it in the calendar, plan so you know when you're supposed to be on and when you're supposed to be off, and then you can log it, what you did and how long you did it, and that'll really help you push through the tough moments when you like don't want to be going anymore and you have to push yourself to keep going in the study or in the gym or at work because you're like, okay, I'm going to get this downtime on Saturday. I can chill. So right now it's okay if I go over the red line, so to speak. All right. Last thing, if you're not already doing this, is track your study time. Super simple. Again, just key is in the calendar. I've talked about this a lot in the past couple of weeks. If for whatever reason you've been procrastinating or on this, do it right now. When do you plan to study today? When do you plan to study tomorrow? Make sure that it harmonizes with all your other commitments because again, you're trying to be great at work. You're trying to be great in your personal life. You're trying to be great at the GMAT. You're trying to be great with your personal goals all at the same time. And you should if that's compelling to you. The key to that, the investment, the price, if you will, for making that happen is being organized, making realistic plans and re-optimizing those plans, recognizing that that constant re-optimization is a moving target for the rest of your life as you grow and develop your capacity. So, with the study time thing, my guess is if you're still listening to this episode and it's still resonating with you, then you are not struggling to get the study time in. You're struggling to limit the study time, but that's the reason to have it in the calendar so that you can get the right amount while still getting your workout time in, while still having enough downtime, etc. All right. So, the key is having a commitment to when the session is supposed to end. That's probably going to be the biggest struggle for people like you. It's not starting to study. That's not your problem. You're getting after it. It's stopping the session so that you don't destroy the rest of your day and your personal life and your social life and everything goes down the tube while you're studying for the GMAT and everything becomes a train wreck. You don't want that. You want to know when you're on and when you're off. That's the skill that we're systematizing right here. We're systematizing the Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, proven at elite levels of performance. When do I turn it on? When do I turn it off? And keep optimizing that for yourself. Now, a little bit of advice. When the session is done, stop thinking about it. Don't think about it during the day if you're going to study later today. Stay in the moment. You're creating unnecessary stress when you're looping on your study session after the off time has been hit. When you're looping on your study session at work, when you're, I'm not progressing in the way I want to see this, when you're at work, don't do that. Be focused on the task at hand. That's the way, that's the gateway that you're going to walk through to get to the level of management and leadership that I know you ultimately want to attain. That is really the system that I'm helping you build right now. This is a lifetime, high performance, kicking ass 100% of the time door opening system. It's super simple, but if you've mastered anything in your life, you're probably already aware that most of the time, mastery and elite results come from doing the basics better than everybody else. It's just tends to be how it goes. I don't know if that's 100% true across the board, but it's got a lot of data behind it. When you have your plan, you've got to trust it and just execute for the day. There's time to evaluate the plan later, but you don't want to be evaluating the plan while you're executing. That's a distraction. You make the plan, you go full execution, And then you evaluate the plan after you executed. That's the only way you're going to get the right data. If you're constantly changing everything without systematized and elite level execution, you're going to get bad data. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to be spinning your wheels, and it's going to be the opposite of what we want, a very negative cycle. So just track 6 things. Track your sleep, track your diet, track your exercise, track your downtime and productive rest time, track your social time, and track your study time. Have it in the calendar and optimize it as you go. Just start tracking and don't stop. That's it. That's the system. Let me give you a few tips to make this work better for you if you want them. Tip number 1, pick a day and time to audit and update your system. So this is what I was just talking about a moment ago. Like, don't be auditing the system while you're doing it. Be executing while you're doing it. Put faith in the plan, and then you can optimize the plan later. Something on the weekend is usually good, or it could be Monday mornings for you, or Friday afternoons for you, or wherever you're going to be able to grab, let's say, 1 to 10 minutes. Doesn't have to be a lot of time to just pick up the calendar, look at your scoreboard, so to speak, of how you're spending your time and your energy, and do a little bit of reoptimization. Okay, how's my sleep score this week? Should I do more or less this coming week? How's my productivity score? Should I do more or less? How was my exercise? More or less? And just have that on a regular time as part of your regular routine. And this will help you adjust and iterate just more efficiently, basically. Again, just going back to this analogy I used earlier, like how would you feel if the CEO of your company that you're working in right now was just like, "Oh, our system, whatever, we'll just figure it out later. Let's just wing it in the meantime." Nothing about that is confidence inspiring, all right? We don't want to be those people. We want to be the person with the plan, the leader, the person who's in charge, where everybody looks to you and you're like, "All right, we're going to do this." And everybody's like, "Wow, that sounds right. Let's go." And the key with that is you don't need the perfect plan. You just got to have a reasonable plan and then the metrics to track it and then the constant process of iterating. Everyone will understand that you're probably not going to have the perfect plan from day one and that what is quote unquote perfect is going to change from day to day. Like pretty much everybody's going to understand that. Nobody expects you to be perfect. They just expect you to take charge and be the kind of person who can make intelligent plans, not super unbalanced plans where you burn yourself and everybody in your organization out in Q1 and then your business just crumbles Q2 through Q4. Nobody wants that. So that's tip number 1. Have a day and time that you regularly audit and update your system, and then the rest of the time you can just focus on executing your plan. Tip number 2. I already talked about this, but it's worth reiterating. Expect yourself to drift from this. Expect yourself to have the perfect plan, awesome plan, and then not execute on it. Anyone any of you who have done any corporate training or like have people who you supervise on your team have realized that you give your people the perfect plan, everything's laid out, they can't fail, and then they just don't do it. Now, hopefully, you're blessed with people who do that less often than more often, but humans are going to drift sometimes, in my experience. Maybe you've had a different experience. I don't know. But you got to expect the same from yourself. And I've talked about this so much the past couple of weeks. I don't want to beat it into the ground, but I do want to remind you, just a friendly reminder, just get good at recommitting it. Just like hopefully you're getting better at helping your team recommit and course correct. Like, hey, Janet, do you remember us talking a few days ago about sending me an update on this financial model at the end of every day? Some of you are already laughing because you just get it. You're like, oh man, maybe I need to assign Janet an Asana task, or maybe I need to go to Janet's house every day and knock on her door. Maybe I need to call her every day and be like, hey, Janet, did you get the report done? So obviously I'm joking, like, there's the right amount of management and all of us have to discover what our style is going to be. And management style is just, it's an art more than a science in my experience. But the science part, that's what we just went through, right? KPIs. Does Janet understand what success looks like? Have I communicated that to her clearly? Because if I haven't done that, it's my fault, not her fault. Have I given her a system and workshopped that system with her to the extent that I believe she understands the system and she takes ownership of the system? Like, okay, Isaac, I like this, but I think I would do better with this thing. Does that sound good to you? Oh, okay, actually, that's a good idea. Cool, sounds good. Whatever. It's documented. It's written down. Okay. If you don't know how to manage, just read High Output Management. Am I forgetting this dude's name? He is a legend. He was a leader of Intel. Andy Grove. High Output Management, great book, very relevant. If you're not sure how to be a good manager and you don't have good leadership at your company that's helped you out with a good system, that'll help. But make sure everything's written down. Make sure the other person is bought in to the system. And then just check back on the system periodically. Have a data tracker. Okay. That's all you're doing for yourself here. It's all the stuff you're familiar with from managing teams and becoming a better leader and helping people reach their goals, right? Quick side tip, you want to make sure you understand what that person's personal goal is and then link their daily activities to that goal. Ideally, that's always going to be the most motivating thing. All of you are already the over motivated people, which is why I'm not talking about that much today. But that's just side point, something I've learned over the years. And in case you need to just remind yourself to maybe do that with your team, something to think about. Or maybe with yourself. Maybe you need to reconnect with your vision or grow your vision, or maybe your vision has changed. You're not inspired by what you used to be inspired by anymore. That's cool. All right. So the point with this is drifting and recommitting, drifting and recommitting. Again, it's just something that requires a long time to really get it dialed in. And it's probably going to be a constant thing. Like, I think leadership is a perishable skill and management is a perishable skill. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. So definitely be grateful if you're in a position of leadership at your current company and people have trusted you with that, because you're basically getting paid to build that skill set right now, which is really nice. Okay. Next tip. If you execute on all the stuff that I told you, you're going to have more energy. You're going to feel better. You're going to be more hardcore. You're going to have the stuff that you want in terms of investable resources into grinding on your studies and elevating your skills. And the key with that now is to make sure you're channeling that into the right things. What I've found in my work with a lot of people who work with me directly or who I work with directly is that I'll give them this stuff, we'll get it set up, they start doing it, and then they're like crushing it, and they start just doing more of everything. And that's actually a good first step. I see that as a sign that we're on the right direction. But more of everything is usually not the answer with GMAT prep. And I've talked about this at length in the past, so I'm not going to go long on this here, but just be intelligent with your plans and uncompromising with your standards of execution. And most of you are already that kind of person, so I don't need to go long on this. But just in case, there's two things to think about here. Number one is apply that extra energy to a framework like I've given you in the how to spend your study time episodes or the how to start your GMAT studies in 2024 episodes. Both of those have good frameworks. If you're not sure what you should be focusing on right now, that'll help. And then make sure you limit it to 3 focus areas between practice exams if you're in that phase of prep, or if you're taking a course or doing a program of study before the practice test phase, make sure you're all in on that and blocking out all the insane noise on the internet. Except this, please listen to me. If it's helpful. Okay. And you can do more of those focus areas, but don't just do more of everything, because that's how you get spread too thin and you can end up burning yourself out or not making progress that way. Okay. But again, if you track your study time and you have some KPIs for yourself there, like you're probably going to be okay. But if you're not sure what to be focused on, reach out to us and we'll help. Just shoot us a DM or book a call on the website, thegmatstrategy.com, if you want help with that. Last 2 tips. Number 1, if you need more help and you're struggling with this on your own, get a coach. Get a professional. I already talked about this before. Plenty of high performers at your job probably will mentor you for free, and they'll be happy to. Like, you don't even necessarily need to invest or pay anybody. Take advantage of that. Find top performers in your network or get into networking groups where there are top performers and just chop it up with these people. Have casual conversations with them and see what kind of stuff they're into. Share what you're up to. Workshop it together. Optimizers love to talk optimization with other optimizers. Usually, some people are the cold stone killers, and that's cool. Those people are great. It's just they're not as outgoing, and like that just is what it is. Like it takes all kinds of people to make the world awesome. So no judgment. It's just like find somebody else to workshop that with probably. Or if that's you, maybe it's time for you to get out of your shell a little bit. And like maybe you can learn stuff from other people, but just find people you respect and admire. You don't just need to go talk to Joe, whoever at the desk next to you. Find the people where you're like, man, that person's got X. Like that's pretty cool. Like maybe I can talk to them about how good they are at that. And that's going to be very validating for the other person and probably super helpful for you. Okay. So tap into that help. Again, if you need paid help, you probably know already, but if you're not sure if you need paid help, definitely get some paid help. And then that'll help you make that decision. Okay. So even if it costs money, it's totally worth it. Because again, this is a lifelong skill set that you're investing in right now. It's not just GMAT, although it'll super duper help with the GMAT. So that's that. Last tip. Some of you are studying full time. I've been working with a good number of people recently who are studying full time, and a couple tips that I've found to be helpful. They're kind of small, but they can make a big difference. Number one, if you don't have a good pair of blue light blocking glasses, I would strongly recommend getting a pair. That doesn't have to be an expensive pair. You can just web search blue light glasses and find something that fits your budget and your style. And this is going to really help with eye fatigue when you're on the computer a lot of hours, which is what GMAT study often necessitates. So definitely get a pair of those and then put your computer in night shift 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Night shift, just web search it if you're not sure what that is. It changes the color tone of your computer screen so that it's less harsh on your eyes. And if you're putting a lot of computer time in, you might already be doing those things. But if you're not doing those two things, definitely experiment with them. Unless you're in the graphic design world and you have to have super accurate colors on your computer screen, you can always turn night shift off for a moment, get the colors right, and then turn it back on. And that'll really help with your eye fatigue and strain and just general physical fatigue. That'll really, really help. Again, just that 1% improvement will add up over the next weeks or months. That's tip one. And then tip number two, if you're studying full time, is have a consistent break schedule. What I typically recommend is a couple hours at the beginning of the day, then at least a 1 hour break, then a couple more hours, maybe late morning, then at least a 1 hour break, and then a couple hours afternoon, and then at least a 1 hour break, and then a couple hours, if you can stand it, in the evening. And that's been the best approach for full time study in my experience. Having said that, if you're just that rare person who's best, 8 hours in the seat at a time, like fine, but that's not typical. Definitely not typical. What I can also recommend if you're doing that full-time study is put your workout midday. I've found a lot of success with the midday workout if you're studying full-time. You wake up, you do your thing, you get a couple study sessions in, then in the afternoon where you're taking your natural circadian dip, your chemical dip, get a good workout in, get a break in, get some good food in, and then when you come back for your evening and afternoon study sessions, you'll probably feel much, 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 much better. And it'll just help you stay consistent with all the stuff that I've been talking about today. That's it. That's your complete system plus a little extra secret sauce for you. I really hope that at least one of those things resonated with you, if not most or all. As always, my greatest hope is that this material will make your studies as easy and as painless as they can possibly be. If you want more tips and strategies for optimizing your performance on the GMAT, head to our website, thegmatstrategy.com, and check out our free video presentation on how to reach your dream GMAT score in half the normal time. In the meantime, this is a weekly show, so please subscribe and please stay positive and stay consistent with your studies. I'll talk to you all soon.